Today we're going to explore how you can optimize your facility resources to help prevent the spread of cold, flu, COVID, and other infectious viruses to prevent outbreaks. We'll hear from industry experts who rely on repeatable processes that ensure their cleaning protocols are continuously identifying areas of improvement, opportunities for redeployment of resources, and confirmation cleanings were completed so viruses don't have the opportunity to spread. We'll also discuss how to overcome challenges within the cleaning industry by designing cleaning programs that maximize operational efficiency and standardize protocols to give you better control of your facility hygiene. Let's meet our experts. Today's featured speakers are representatives from Bunzl Hygiene, Cleaning and Hygiene, and Queen's University. So David Smith is Bunzl Cleaning Hygiene's Director of Cleaning, Hygiene, and Sanitation, and its key category expert for Eastern Canada. David has spent decades working with educational boards, school systems, healthcare, and long-term care facilities, and many other institutions to improve the daily life of students, staff, residents, and cleaning teams through robust cleaning and hygiene protocols. Also with us today is Barb Woke. She is the Assistant Director, Custodial and Grounds Operations at Queen's University. Barbara has spent more than 20 years at Queen's University developing a wealth of managerial and custodial knowledge. As an ISSA CIMS certified expert, Barbara is closely involved with the CIMS certification process at Queen's, providing experienced strategy-focused leadership to ensure the delivery of quality and service excellence to the university community. And lastly, Matt Savoy, who is the Director of Facilities and Infrastructure at Queen's University, has over 13 years of experience, operations experience in the manufacturing and post-secondary sectors. He joined Queen's University in 2019 and led the residence facilities team to achieve CIMS-GB advanced by GBAC with honors. As a result, Queen's University is the first university in Canada to have both the central facilities and residence custodial programs operating under a common industry leading standard. So that's fantastic. I'd like to congratulate Barb and Matt as Queen's and the team have been very dedicated to achieving the CIMS-GB standards and certification, and Bunzl Cleaning Hygiene have been proud partners in assisting in those efforts. So thank you all for joining us today, and yeah, we'll jump right in. Alrighty, so you know, I first want to bring in David. You know, as you meet with many different clients every day, you know better than many of us the unique challenges that they're facing in the market right now. But there's, you know, each facility might have its own unique challenges, but there's some broader challenges that that are facing the market, and I figure you know, you might want to bring us up to speed on some of those and just address some of those.
Okay, thanks, Alex, and I'd like to echo your comments of having Matt and Barb on here today. We feel privileged every day to work with our partners at Queen's University, so I'm pleased to share this with them today. Yes, you know, there's some really key challenges facing the industry right now, and there's certainly a lot of economic factors at play here that have really caused things for people to feel the pinch in terms of their cleaning programs. And I think a lot of people are still trying to figure out, what does the new clean look like, right? They're being asked to do more with less and deliver either a same level of service as far as expectation, or in many cases, I think this can be said of Queens, they're expecting an increased standard, and it goes a lot of the work that Barb and Matt have done with CIMS and bringing their programs forward. Another of the big challenges, right, certainly today, is the lack of labor, and we're faced with that every day. And I know Queens, again, some of the same challenges as the K-12 people in the region that they function in. You know, we're constantly looking for staff and qualified people come to work. So that continues to be a challenge for a lot of the people. And again, there's a certain amount of turnover as well too. I think some of it may be generational, but people are quite are changing jobs very quickly. They're not staying at things. There doesn't seem to be sometimes the same commitment or level of dedication. So there's a challenge there where we're facing turnover. So all those things go on every day, and that's further compounded by the various seasons we're in. And cold and flu is now upon us. I'm on a ministry hotline, and I get notifications a lot regarding long-term care every day. We're seeing all kinds of things crop up, and certainly flu and colds are a big problem right now for us. And I guess we need to ask ourselves, why do we need to be concerned with this? Well, question, and certainly pathogens, they have certain things that, that they feed off of, if you will, fuel source, moisture, temperature, time, all those things have a factor. And again, at this time of year, especially viruses and pathogens can be very active, and we encounter new strains and new things going on. Well, it's critical for us to try to control those elements and make sure that we're providing a clean and healthy environment. And I guess it comes down to what I think is still regular daily cleaning, good proper protocols to follow, proper steps that the staff understand why they're doing things and how to do them properly. And you just can't skip that daily stuff. And I know Queens certainly do an excellent job of that. So they'll probably, Barb and Matt will elaborate a little bit more later on that. If we can just move on to the next one, Alex. Yeah. So, current trends, this is one of the heat maps that the federal government creates to give us an indication on where we are with certain things like COVID, which I know is maybe a bad word right now, but the reality is it's still very prevalent. And again, I get notifications daily on stuff that's going on within the field, and certainly Eastern Ontario, where we are all based on a daily basis. It's got some hot spots, and that's what this will indicate. And so on the left of this map, you've got the current influenza activity, and you see some heightened activity in Alberta and Saskatchewan and Ontario. And so certainly there's some issues there. And then the one to the right deals with COVID-19. And again, in Eastern Ontario, especially the Ottawa region, there's still a lot of concerns around long-term care, where it can be very, very impactful. And from that standpoint, we need to be doing the good daily things to help keep us healthy and safe, and certainly all those people that we're responsible for. So, I think Alex, you were gonna maybe set this up for us.
Yeah. So I think you've outlined the challenges that are facing a lot of customers and facility managers, the external pressures, and with the addition and the compounding that you mentioned of that, us entering cold and flu season. I would imagine that there's some of our guests or attendees and facility managers out there that are just kind of hoping that what they are doing right now is enough, despite these challenges. But I think in reality, that's probably not the case, right? So like, how can we reassure our attendees and facility managers that there is a better way of dealing with the necessary cleaning in the face of all these challenges?
Yeah, without question, a facilities manager needs to have confidence in the program that the day-to-day things are going to get done. There's a phrase that's been well used in the industry for many years about cleaning for health and appearance. But I would say now more than ever, we're really cleaning for health, and you can't always see what what the challenges are, what those pathogens are, and what's on the surface. So we're cleaning for health, and you need more than hope, if you will. You need to have a good plan in place. You need to have a staff and a program in place, and the staff has confidence in it. They have skill, that they have the right products, that they have the right equipment, and there's also that form of accountability. People need to know that it's getting done to that standard, and so that's a lot to accomplish, right? But it is critical. So a couple of things that I've seen that I think make up a good program, and this would certainly be reflective of what goes on at Queen's University in both residence and physical plant, is the facilities, I should say, is prioritizing ongoing training. I think training is critical. You want that process to be continuous, because you're constantly bringing, especially in these days, new people in. You have churn, you have staff turnover, and also, but you need to help your staff make sure that as they're going through this process, they have a voice, and they can help in that whole communication of that, to make sure that it's effective and it's working for them, and they're learning, right? And again, one of the other challenges that I think the facility side face is that they're constantly asked to verify how do we know that got done, right? This particular area last night, did it get done? Was it done to standard? How can we verify that, right? There's several different ways that can go. You're also in that vein, you're reassessing the needs of your facility and the users that impact that facility, and so to make sure that your cleaning program is the most effective it can be. And periodically it needs to be adjusted and tinkered with, and again, I think Barb and Matt could probably speak to that better than I. And again, one of the emerging pieces of this, as we're trying to measure the accountability piece, and we're using different tools to do that. We have the availability of analytics now, and some innovation of collecting information and data that really helps to identify areas that we can improve on our program. So I think all those things play into it, and they all move towards that continuous improvement piece, if you will.
Right, and so that's you're talking about that closed loop approach, and so the continuous improvement that Bunzl Cleaning and Hygiene has a program called Confident Clean, right? And that's what you just discussed. That's all encapsulated in that closed loop continuous improvement cycle, right?
Yeah, it is. And I have to say, we've been doing it for years, right? We've been putting a number of these elements in play on a day-to-day basis for years, but now it's developed really where there's a science approach to it for us, where we can, as I say, I use the term close the loop, but in terms of you can have the confidence that, if you're following these steps in these programs, that you're going to get a positive result. You're going to get improved results, and you're also going to get a consistent result, which is a critical piece. We need to know this gets done every day to that standard. So, we're always looking for continuous improvement in our facilities. We're always looking at ways to measure it. And as I say, in the last probably 10 years or so, we've gotten much better at sort of doing that, measuring the results of a cleaning program. But it all has to start somewhere. We're really working on educating our customers, on what the appropriate steps are to build a proper program. and you can help to understand those customers' needs. You can help to design the proper program around that. And then again, there are other steps in the process. You're optimizing. You want to make sure that you're certainly making the most of the program and making it effective, and listening to the employees to make sure that they're certainly buying in. And then at the end of it, we want to validate that work got done correctly. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of in closing that loops. And interesting enough, a lot of this in the Confident Clean dovetails very nicely into the really great work that Queens has done, with their ISSA CIMS certification. In fact, this whole measurable component is a big part of what goes on in that program. But again, Barb and Matt can speak to that better than I.
Yeah, I think here in a second we can bring Matt in to chat about some of his experiences and what they've been doing at Queens. But just in terms of the assessment, right? Like this is laying the groundwork for how you design your program. If we recenter it back into the cold and flu and outbreak prevention, this is really understanding the unique needs of each. I talked about it earlier, the unique needs of every facility, but even the unique needs of certain areas in your facility, and meeting with the customer to understand those needs, right?
Yeah, you really need to get to know your customer and know their business, right? And certainly that starts initially for someone that may not be dealing with us, for us to go in and start to learn about their business. And the assessment piece is one very big portion of it. We can go in there and certainly learn a lot by talking to each other, communicating. Observing is a big portion of it, but there's some key elements that we're looking for here. So an assessment might include the measurable traffic volume of in a facility, the different types of surfaces and materials that make up that facility that might present challenges, certainly in cleaning and hygiene. Is there an opportunity to address some of the gaps that the customer may be having in terms of staffing? A lot of that now is addressed with automation and cobotics, and that happening now because we just can't get enough staff to meet the requirements. And I was saying this earlier to a customer this morning. We're doing a lot of work with robotics right now, and in all cases, in the great number of machines we placed this year, everything is designed around augmenting what the customer had there in terms of staff. It's not about replacing staff. It's about supporting them so they can do the best job they possibly can. Are these goals and things that we're setting for the staff in the cleaning program, are they achievable? Are they sustainable? And there are a number of other pieces that we can tie into an assessment, things like preventive maintenance, assessing the equipment, their assets, and replacements, and then more importantly, there's each sort of program is intimate to that customer, so there's always something unique that people have or need, the challenges that we may have encountered elsewhere or may be unique to them, and we help to try to build a solution to help them. So it's a getting to know, right?
Yeah, and I think that's a great place to bring Matt in, because Matt, it's not a one size fits all solution, and you have unique needs between your classroom environments and your residential the residence environment. So can you kind of expand on that a little bit and tell us, how you've what you identified in your assessment and the needs of those two environments?
Yeah, of course. And thanks for that, David. I think you've been right on point with everything you're saying with regards to the assessment. Again, I think it starts at the beginning with understanding the needs of the customers and then validating that you've got sufficient resources to do what you want to do. That's the first step, and it's one of the first steps in getting the CIMS certification as well. You need to know what you're working with. So just to continue on the unique environments or being aware of the functions within the space you're looking to have a program for. The thing that's really unique with our operation is it's a student's home. It's not like they're coming there for a 3-hour lecture and leaving, and then there's another group of students that come in. This isn't supposed to be an environment where they feel safe and comfortable and try to simulate a home-like environment. So in order to do that with the volume of people we have living in our buildings, we really had to be smart about the level of frequency and the level of service that we're offering, particularly around those high touch points, particularly around this time of year. So it's really about monitoring those spaces and leveraging technology where we can to continuously monitor that and make adjustments as necessary. But the expectation and the standard from students is that the place looks well kept, and they always find comfort in seeing people cleaning. So I think that's a big part of understanding your clientele as well, is when people see people cleaning and doing those types of activities, there's a general feeling that, yep, they take it seriously and the environment's clean and safe for me to be in. So there's a bunch of different factors, obviously, with every environment, but that's what I'll say about that.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt. I think, Dave, that probably dovetails nicely, the idea of you're having to, once you have the assessment and the needs, and you understand the needs of these different environments, you got to design a program to actually meet the needs of the particular facility. So can you describe what goes into the design stage of any kind of program, particularly with in mind to this time of year? Each season presents different challenges, but like this time of year, you're having to accommodate for rise in viruses and illnesses.
Well, it's, you hear a repetitive term, and, as we talk about these things, and it comes back to training and knowledge and understanding, right? And you can have the best products in the world, and we certainly feel that way, that we're presenting, some really leaders in the industry of, say, disinfectants that Queen's University would be using on a day-to-day basis, which, help to protect and clean the environment. But if the people using them don't have the proper skill set and knowledge on how to properly clean and disinfect, a proper two-step process, then you're going to fail. So really, there's a lot of work that goes into it. You're looking at, in terms of picking the right products, the right chemistries. It might involve technology. It might involve equipment. Certainly, it always involves safety and the appropriate PPE. But it comes back around to the training and education piece, and I find that's one part of it. But what Queens do that's really good as well too is they're very good listeners. They revisit things after we build or try to design a program, and we agree on moving forward in a certain direction. I think it's important to sort of double back and get the feedback from the staff to make sure that you're getting the buy-in, and ultimately they're getting results. And a lot of times when you do that too, you get some really powerful feedback that allows you to maybe even fine tune or design, change the design of that program as well to get that desired consistent approach to it. So, each facility will have specific needs, and they'll require their own customized program. But it's all in mind of obtaining that goal of a clean and healthy environment for everybody to function and work in. So that design element is a really big part of that.
Yeah, and I think that is a good opportunity to invite Barb in because the design that needed to be created for some of your athletic facilities and gymnasium facilities for students, right? Like that's an opportunity, particularly at this time of year where there's potential for more viral spread, and you need the resources, the manpower, the cleaning staff resources to address those. So you've implemented some equipment and that kind of thing, and designed a program that's slightly different for that environment than say other ones. So can you kind of just elaborate on that a little bit?
Certainly. First of all, I think a crucial element is to communicate your service level agreement or your design to your client or customers, right? You want to make sure that they're really well informed as to what they should be anticipating. Looking at an athletic building as an illustration, while patrons are generally aware of the disinfectant duties that they should be doing with the particular equipment they use, what we have implemented is specialized teams. So this team cleaning approach enhances a level of clarity, effectiveness, and maintaining our standards of cleaning. Also, in conjunction with our specialty teams, we've also integrated a significant amount of autonomous cleaning. So what this has done is enabled our caretakers to operate this equipment while they have the opportunity to go focus on hitting their high touch areas. So we found that this approach actually empowers our members to, independently set up the equipment, run the programs, allows them to experience the advantages of the technology and not be afraid of it, and hopefully see the added benefits.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you for that. I think I think that's a great point, and the next element in our solution is, of course, training, which David talked about. And there's some elements of needing to train folks on understanding the benefits of autonomous equipment or cobots and that kind of thing. David, I think you've gone through, you touched on a lot of the implementation piece of this, and the training and education. I'd like to turn it back over to Matt, but is there anything else you wanted to add, just related to training and education?
No, I mean, implementation is a key portion of what has to go on. And again, I sort of jumped ahead a bit. My apologies, but you're going to implement. The training is key, and to be ongoing as part of that. And again, doing that critical follow-up and making sure that the protocols things are happening correctly, effectively, and safely, right? You want to make sure. And again, sometimes it just takes some reinforcement, because people over time forget, or they may have taken some information that you've shared and somehow they're not necessarily right on point. So you want to take the time to make sure that they're focused on getting the proper results. And that's so critical during this time of year with cold and flu. I reiterate, that's the purpose today. If we're doing that core stuff daily, we're really going to help to combat the effects of cold and flu.
Yeah, and I think again, Matt, I'll bring you in here, both Matt and Barb. But Matt, if your team is, you've communicated that your team is continuously doing training to stay ahead of the curve, introduce new innovation tools, that kind of thing. So how are you continuously training your staff, and what benefits have you seen?
Oh, thanks. That's a great question. And yeah, so really, I'll just back up a little bit. When we went through to get our certification, we highlighted that we had room for improvement within our training that we provided for our staff. So our operation is quite unique, where we shift gears in the summertime and operate a hotel. So there's very little opportunities. So we have to look at it from a calendar year and find different periods throughout the year that we could leverage for training opportunities. So that we were successful in identifying that, and some of the measures that we put in place, or some of the training activities that we like to put in place, is arguably to, in alignment with cold and flu season, is we train all our staff on KFLNA's Infectious Prevention and Control Committee for non-clinical staff. So that really is, there's a whole module on there that they get trained on annually with regards to hand hygiene, for example, donning and doffing PPE effectively, even administration, and then going into an potentially infectious location and how you would manage that and clean those spaces. So we do that annually. Each custodian gets a certificate of completion, so there's that sort of ownership and reward after the training is completed. But that's been a big part of it for us, and certainly empowers our staff, and then gives the occupants comfort knowing that our staff has that level of training and awareness for really anything that gets thrown our way.
That's great. Yeah, and just one thing I think is important to probably mention there is some of the training that's out there is there's no charge to it, right? Like that. So for some customers who are looking for might have budgetary concerns or anything like that, right? There are options out there that can alleviate some of those challenges as well, right? So
I did want to add something else with regards to training too, because I feel like it fits perfectly with the theme of this. Is we also work closely with David and our friends at Bunzl to do kind of an annual refresh on our two-step cleaning process and equipment that we use and chemicals that we use, and provide that sort of platform for our staff to communicate their concerns or questions that they might have. So we do also do that on an annual basis as well. So thank you guys for that.
well, I think as we know, the training is you can have a great plan and you can have all in place, but you need the staff to be trained and be empowered and the knowledge to go out and do it. But there's also additional tools that you can use to help benefit your cleaning program as well. A lot of it's through documentation. David, the optimization tools, like you've mentioned before, that communication is a huge part of the optimization of any program as well.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's something that you need to certainly deliver this information in a form that's understandable and formats, and that's evolved over the years. We've been doing work with Queen's University, I know, for well over 25 years in different departments, and a lot of the messages are the same, but we learn things, and we learn new ways and more innovative ways of delivering this information so people retain, right? That's a critical piece. But one of the things, as we've gone through optimization through over the last number of years, we've learned that there are certain elements of information as we go through this process. If we can collect that information or collect that data, if you will, that's really powerful stuff for us, because it allows us to do a number of different things. So we've worked really hard on our own program, and again, this is part of the goals, to use optimization tools as part of the CIMS-GBAC certification. But we used our digital tools to start to track the completion of tasks, cleaning tasks, because I think some of the things that Barb and Matt face every day are, did this get done, and was it done to standard? So they're getting asked those questions, and as there's a heightened awareness around the cleaning, the health of buildings, people want to know this. The other part of it is, how heavily are the buildings used? So we've been able to start to assess the amount of traffic that comes into a building, and what time that comes into a building, right? So that could be critical in a lot of different ways, and I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole here, but at the end of the day, that's really powerful stuff, because that's going to allow us to optimize our schedule or to put people into these critical areas when they need to be there, right? And again, there's also, again, that accountability that, we know that the work got done. It's measurable now because part of this is to have the staff, record when that work is getting done. And there's also a customer facing side of it too, where they can help to identify if there's a challenge in an area or they've encountered something that needs addressing. They're able to do that. So all these tools that are now available to us are really powerful tools if they can be used effectively to help us to sort of really optimize what we're doing on a day-to-day basis.
Apologies. Yeah, Matt, I think that is an interesting point because you're using various tools, right? You're using various types of documentation to optimize your program, including our Wanda Next, which is a digital management platform. Can you just kind of elaborate on how a range of tools has benefited your program and your protocols?
Yeah, of course. So as you had mentioned, we do use Wanda Next as sort of that first level validation verification that planned scheduled work was completed to the requirement that we were or to the standard in which we are hoping to achieve. So I think that's the step one piece of it, is you're looking at that, you're able to validate that. Also, you have the opportunity for customer feedback, service requests, etc., and then the evaluation of how long it took to respond to those pieces. So that to any request that comes in. So that's really the Wanda Next piece that we see the value in, and looking at response time really shows where you can be innovative, where technology might be able to help you, where any cleaning practices may need to be adjusted, depending on any of those requests that come in. Again, how long it takes to clean a specific space. If you're going to a public wash and it's constantly taking you 2 hours, maybe there's something you need to do differently there to be a little bit more efficient. And then the quality assurance piece that's coupled with that is a program called Orange QC, where there's spot checks that are done by management, where they'll come and audit spaces unannounced to validate, yes, this is in fact, we are in fact achieving what we want to achieve. And we can report deficiencies, follow up with staff, correct behavior, etc. And then the last piece of our documentation we use is like and I know this is similar, I don't want to speak for Barb, but similar on her side with regards to a SharePoint website, which is a living website that captures all our documentation, right from our service delivery plan to human resources, all the way up to our green building policy. So that has all the cleaning documents kind of tied into one location that's accessible for the management team and really anybody that wants to view it. So that's what we leverage.
Fantastic. And yeah, you talked about validation here, and that's the final kind of cog in the wheel. And Dave, if I were to describe it, the optimization is kind of more focused on the efficiency of your program, whereas as Matt has mentioned, the validation is more related to the effectiveness of your programs. So is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, yes, it is, Alex, quite frankly. But as I say, sometimes it can be a little more complex than that. But when you sort of break it down, we need to know, that the work got done, and the goal is to make sure it's done to the expectation, the standard that particular facility is looking for. And again, it's just becoming more and more every day. We need to verify that the work got done and validate that it was done to that level. I guess, sort of coin the phrase, but that's where the confident clean comes into play. That's where it starts. And again, these platforms like Wanda provide the line of sight that the work has been completed and what Matt touched on at what time. Right, because that's a critical piece in Queens's world, because it runs 24/7. And, you know, something may have been done at 10 o'clock at night. By the morning, there's something that has to be addressed because something else was a factor that contributed to the current state of it. And it's been, you know, messaged in that there's a problem. So, you know, but, you know, the work had been done previously and to standard, and that helps the strength of Matt and Barb's respective programs. And then again, these tools will collect information and data that you know help us to you know validate that the work was done with the proper protocol. And there are other forms of testing that can go on in addition to that to help to support it. So we have the abilities to do things like record ATP testing and things into our Wanda program as well too. So it, you know, validates the soil loads and the levels on the surfaces that were tested by the managers. And then again, there's always out of that can come some insight on how, you know, when we review the programs and their effectiveness, you know, if there's a way we can change or enhance it. And then again, that goes back to the whole communication piece, which I think Queens does a really exceptional job. You know, they listen as much as they say, and a lot of times you're going to learn a lot that way on how to you know build the best mousetrap, if you will.
No, that's fantastic, and you know, I think you know that validation and verification, of course, at this time of year is critical in understanding, you know, the work was completed, and you know, you can have that confidence that you know, you can stop or reduce the spread anyways of various viruses and that kind of thing. So fantastic. So well, I appreciate everybody's patience. We have run quite a bit over time, but we appreciate you sticking with us and listening to our experts today. You know, I'd like to thank David, Barb, and Matt for sharing all of your knowledge and experiences in your cleaning program design, implementation, and optimization, and verification to reduce the spread of germs. And so thank you very much. And that should take us to our Q&A section. So just a reminder to anybody, we'll take a few minutes to answer some questions. But we'll be able to answer any questions. If you want to get in contact with either Dave, Matt, or Barb, any one of them would be more than happy to answer any specific questions you might have afterwards. So I think one of the first questions, maybe Barb, if you're interested in taking this one,
Sure.
you know, as we're in cold and flu season, I'm just wondering if you could share some of the steps you and your teams have taken to just sort of respond to increased virus on campus. You know, whether you know if that's just you know, in preparation for the season, right?
Yeah. So striving for continuous improvement within the program, just educating our staff, reminding them of the basics, right? Just the dwell time. Really our health education, we want to promote awareness through, you know, educational campaigns of the importance of hand hygiene. It could be something as simple as putting out more hand sanitizer locations, you know, ensuring, as Dave mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, to not skip our disinfection touch points. So ensuring that we're adhering to our program to make sure that we've hit all those high touch points. That seems to be working for us at this point, but.
Fantastic. We have a question from another question from our attendees, from John. He's wondering about, you know, what he's asking about turnover, and I guess this is a major challenge for a lot of companies and attendees. But wondering, you know, David, specifically, you think the contributing factors to this might be, and maybe some of the things that employers or anybody can do to help improve churn rate or turnover and continue to attract skilled talent.
Well, that's a very complex question. I think a lot of the issue lies in the fact that there are just not as many people available in the workforce as there once were. People that are my age, that are baby boomers, largely have aged out of the industry, and if they haven't, certainly COVID took its toll on people because the challenges that were surrounding that, I think, caused people to reflect on whether they wanted to continue on in the workforce. So we're facing, bringing in young, very smart, talented people, but there are many opportunities open to them. So when there's many opportunities open to them at different rates of pay, and this was part of the economic challenges that we're facing, it's hard to attract talent. And if we do, quite frankly, unlike in my day where I really have had 2 to 3 jobs my entire career, they'll switch 2 to 3 jobs in a week. So at the end of the day, and I know I see Barb smiling, but she lives this as Matt does every day, right? Where all of a sudden you go through a whole process of educating and training people, going through many resumes to get down to 4 or 5 qualified people. And then when you bring them in for orientation or training, half of them show up. Mm-hmm. So I don't know that I have the silver bullet in that area, Max or Alex, to help with that area. But certainly economically, we understand the importance of someone that performs cleaning, hygiene, and I know it's very important that we make it attractive to them to want to work in our industry and to learn and to retain them, and that's a challenge. But a lot of times that's a financial challenge, which are sometimes out of the I guess our ability to address that, because we have to work within the parameters that we have. But hopefully you can. I know we're certainly, all of us are all very passionate about the work that we do, and it's important to make a difference every day, and provide a healthy environment. And I do have I guess I pause for hope in the fact that there's a lot of people considering cleaning and hygiene as a career, and can work towards having very good careers in education, whether it be higher education like Queen's or K to 12. There's some great opportunities for people to work and develop themselves and to make a difference. So, but it is a very complex problem, and I think we could probably donate or do a whole webinar on that, on the challenges around that. So,
fair enough.
If I could add quickly to that, I know we've already talked about it a fair bit, but we did talk about the ongoing training and education. And one of the things we're finding here, which is helping somewhat with our retention, is hosting those regular meetings, reviewing of the SOPs, engaging our staff. Because what we're finding is that when they're have improved skill set, they're feeling better, they're feeling more comfortable, they have more enhanced productivity and performance. Selfishly, it's giving us some consistency in our program delivery, as well as we're finding when they have more job satisfactions, we're hoping that they're going to feel valued, they'll see growth opportunities, and hopefully, add into that retention.
That's great work.
Yeah,
it really is.
Definitely.
It's so critical. Yeah.
We could maybe have time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions. I got one here from Darren, who's asking, what are some practical ways, tools, or technology to track the amount of traffic through a facility We've kind of talked, well, we have talked about one tool, which is Wanda Next, but I'll throw it out there to any of you that maybe there's anything else that you're doing to track traffic or any other tools.
I'll jump in from the digital side in that the most effective way I've found, quite frankly, is to go to one of these digital people counters that we can tie into our Internet of Things WANA program. Quite frankly, because it's going to give you the movement in say a washroom. Say you have a high traffic washroom that's demanding a lot of attention on a shift basis, and it's going to tell you when you're over a period of time. It can tell you when you're getting those users in the facility, and when the peak demands are. And the most effective tool I've seen to do that is to sort of do it digitally and install a people counter. I know hospitals and other forms of healthcare that I do some work in, they'll employ people to do physical countings. They'll do samplings in an area, and they're really doing account by observation. In this day and age, I think possibly people's time is better spent by doing some other things that are critical, and then not that this isn't, but it's so easy to collect the data with these people counters, because a lot of times, as I say, healthcare will employ them, and they're even at the same time they're measuring hand hygiene as an example, right? Well, they not to go down this path too far, but they know who the people are that are watching them. So when they see them standing there in a lab coat, they know they're getting counted, and they know they're getting observed for their behavior, right? That's trying to drive the behavioral change that people are looking for. So I think digitally is the way to go.
And just to add a piece to that, or a note, that these people counters, they're not they're not taking photos of people. It's more of very much like an analytical, just counting the presence, not the any personal data or anything like that.
Yeah, no, that's critical. People understand that. That also applies to any of the robotics or autonomous, cobotic, however you want to phrase it. All these things, some of these things are equipped with cameras and the ability to do that. We're very careful and cautious here that we're never going to cross those lines in terms of personal information, data, things of all those natures, right? We're very careful in how we approach those things. So very good point, Alex, that no, we're not being Big Brother. We're not watching anybody.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've